Hey y'all, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is Bonus Tipplers,
The podcast where we read all the books we used to steal off our grandmother's nightstands.
and then we drink about it. Hey y'all, this episode is brought to you by Kensington's newest, An Earl, the Girl, and a Toddler. This is by Vanessa Riley, and this is the next in her Rogues and Remarkable Women series, which is a poignant and swoon-worthy tale. I love swoon-worthy. Such a good word. It's ideal for the Bridgerton binge watcher. So, masterminded by the Ton's most clever countess, the secret society, the Widow's Grace, helps ill-treated widows regain their reputations, their families, and even find true love again, or perhaps for the very first time. Surviving a shipwreck en route to London from Jamaica was just the start of personal maid Jemina St. Maur's nightmare. Suffering from amnesia, she was separated from anyone who might know her and imprisoned in Bedlam. She was freed only because barrister Daniel Thackeray, Lord Ashbrook, was convinced to betray the one thing he holds dear, the law. Desperate to unearth her true identity, Jemina's only option is to work outside the law, which means staying steps ahead of formidable Daniel no matter how strongly she is drawn to him. Married only by proxy, now widowed, shipwreck. That's an amazing sentence. That's the sentence that I want. Daniel is determined to protect his little stepdaughter, Charlotte, from his family's scandalous reputation. That's why he has dedicated himself not only to the law, but to remaining as proper and upstanding and boring as he can be. But the closer he becomes to the mysterious, alluring Jemina, the more Daniel is tempted to break the very rules to which he's dedicated his life. A ruthless adversary close in which the truth requires him and Jemina to sacrifice their one chance of happiness. So this is by Vanessa Riley, who's an award-winning author of Regency and historical romances, which feature multicultural communities and powerful persons of color. So again, for those interested, you can get An Earl, the Girl, and a Toddler from wherever you buy your books.
On this episode, we read Julie Garwood's Honor Splendour. There are some trigger warnings with this. There is some sexual assault in the past, but kind of very terrible for the characters. There's like childhood trauma. There's kidnapping. There's medieval battles.
Yeah, there's evil gays.
Yeah, which is odd that we haven't had a lot of evil gays, but there's one in this. There's also a bit like ice swimming and there's dirty rushes on the floor and
feeding undomesticated animals.
That's true. Yeah. There's magical horses.
There's being in love with your brother's wife, but not really.
Yeah, it's probably okay.
There's a lot of historical inaccuracy.
Yeah, but we're expecting that from the brand.
So, yes. But I think the real ones to look for is, discussions of sexual trauma and then also, homosexuals as evil people.
Yeah.
But, yes, so that is our trigger warnings for Julie Garwood's Honor Splendour. Buckle up.
Buckle up, bitches. Hey, y'all. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you? It's Rosé Day. It is. Summer is here. We are having rosé all day. And we have a frothy rosé type book.
Yes. This is a good rosé book.
Yes. So we are doing our second Julie Garwood. We did the kind of her most popular book, The Bride, which was from 1991, and this is 1987's Honor Splendour. Now, we're not going to talk about Julie Garwood because you can go back and listen to our episode of The Bride.
You should. It was good, I think.
But what I am going to tell you is Julie Garwood might have the most baller sentence on her website, which is, she creates masterpieces every time she writes a book. Indeed, she is the Rembrandt of romance novels. That is the BDE in this book is Julie Garwood's website.
Yeah. You're right.
So this book, and the reason that we chose it, came about by an email that we got. Usually, we love to talk about the mean YouTube comments that we get.
Mm-hmm. Your voice is so gross.
My favorite recently has been people talking about how to pirate Sidney Sheldon movies.
Like right in front of us.
Yeah.
Like we're right here, y'all.
But we got this was several months ago. This was from November. We got this amazing email from a girl named Nicole. and it's pages long. That could be a whole podcast as us talking about the most amazing email that we have gotten. And Nicole wins it. This is the opening sentence. Well, let me tell you, I came across your podcast on the drive home from a shitty family emergency, and it gave me life, which is nice to hear.
Yes, I always appreciate when people have a nice thing to say.
So she says, anyway, back to the point of the email. This is she titled it The Julie Garwood Rundown That You Absolutely Did Not Ask For. And so it goes through all of the Julie Garwood novels, and it's outstanding.
The only reason we didn't ask for it is because we did not know that we could.
No,
if you had told us that we could ask for it, we would have asked for it.
Nicole needs her own podcast, and it would be way more popular than ours because she is outstanding and really funny. So this is what she wrote about Honor Splendour. One of my favorite JG books. Much good sexy times. Lots of oral, a villainous sibling, a sibling that experienced sexual trauma and is not coping well, a sibling that thinks he's in love with the heroine. A love born out of straight kidnapping and revenge for sexual trauma. That's all in caps. A defrocked priest, a wolf in caps. There might be some historical / factual inaccuracies here. So how could we not read this?
Yes.
So Nicole, this one is for you, and hopefully you still like us after this episode, because this book was a ride and a half. So yeah, Julie Garwood's. This one is actually from 1987, where The Bride is from 1991.
It felt like a rehearsal for The Bride. It felt like she kind of parted some of this out.
Yeah. So Sarah's got the book, and we don't have the one with the original cover.
No,
and I'm so sad.
It's got one of those, crap sack modern covers where it's just it's a foggy vista with a horse on it. No, the OG cover, it has bad hair, and it has him in this leather onesie thing, and they're in the cold lake, which is in the book. So it's much better. But I can read you the back copy of at least this edition. Julie Garwood, acclaimed New York Times bestselling author of Ransom, creates a rich and tender tapestry of sweet revenge, stunning intrigues, and sensuous love. In the feuding English court, gentle Lady Madelyne suffered the cruel whims of her ruthless brother, Baron Duncan. Then, in vengeance for a bitter crime, Baron Duncan of Wexton, the Wolf, unleashed his warriors against Luden's domain. Exquisite Madelyne was the prize he captured, but when he gazed upon the proud beauty, he pledged to protect her with his life. In his rough-hewn castle, Duncan proved true to his honor, but when at last their noble passion conquered them both, she surrendered with all her soul. Now for love, Madelyne would stand fast, as bravely as her lord, the powerful wolf who fought for Honor's Splendour.
Now, on the original cover, he looks like the guy from The Last Starfighter. And I'm here I love it. I love the original cover so much. It's so bad.
Why do they have to always do that? I understand that it was quite expensive to get those paintings.
He's wearing jeans, and he's wearing jeans and a leather vest, and he's got a sword on, and they're in a lake.
This one also has a lot of different international covers that all have, painted clinch covers. They're all different. So, I can't believe that they would pay, the international publishing houses would pay for somebody else to paint another couple.
That's amazing.
It's kind of cool.
So, let's start with Honor Splendour. The book starts really intriguing. It starts at this, castle keep outside. It's winter. Obviously, we're in England. And there's
dude is already naked.
Yeah, he's this naked guy.
It's 1090 something. It's right soon after the Norman conquest.
Right.
1099.
So we've got this, large, swarthy man who is
probably 5'4",
who is naked or almost naked. He has been chained up outside this castle, the keep, and he's being taunted that he's going to be left outside to die.
They have this plot that they're not going to leave any evidence. They're going to freeze him to death and then dump him in the woods so that they can convincingly say that he died of exposure.
Yeah.
So, but that's clearly not going to go because there's clearly something that's going to happen. And this guy is larger than any two of them put together.
Yeah.
He's just that guy.
And so the soldiers get tired of waiting outside because it's too cold for them. They're all, they're all clothed and, but it's too cold. So they all go inside. And so as soon as they go inside, this little like little
waif.
A waif comes and runs and is unchaining him and is just talking to him, and you find out that he is the kind of arch nemesis of her brother, who she hates, and she's.
But he's got a plan, and he's not going to tell her this. But his his men are right now climbing.
Yeah,
the
she's like, "I'll protect you. I'll protect you." So she, unchains him, and then she takes him into this little. I think they're not in the chapel yet, but
no, they're in the itinerant priest quarters, which are not used much.
And she's got to warm him up, and the fastest way to warm up his feet, because his feet are they're going numb, is she basically just throws his feet under her her dress. It is very hot when this happens.
And she's very innocent about it, and she's just so worried that he's going to die or lose his feet or whatever. But he is just completely that's it for him then and there. You had me hit, my feet are on your belly.
Yeah, he was like, this is the sexiest thing that's ever happened to me. So for all of our feet people, get it.
Is this our first feet thing?
It might be our first.
I don't remember any other feet things. So yeah. All right, footies, go get it.
So all the while she's like, "You shouldn't have come here. Oh my God, we've got to get you out." And he's not said a damn word.
He doesn't talk a lot. He's one of those.
Meanwhile,
she's back at the other side of the castle.
People are scaling over, and she's just, "You've got to go. And you find out that he has had this plan to get captured, and then his men will come, and then his plan is to capture her because of a thing that happened to his sister earlier. So his men cross over, and there's a battle between her brother's men, who she hates her brother, and then his men, and then you see her protect the servants of the castle.
And he tells her that, guess what? Sorry, you're an idiot. You're my prisoner now. And she says, "Can I get my clothes? They're in the chapel." And he's like, "Why are they in the chapel?"
Yeah.
Because I was running away, asshole. And you interrupted my running away. And he's like, "You were not." But then, I guess you were. I guess you did leave all your clothes.
So you find out that this is our big, tall, swarthy guy, our 5'4" tall guy is Duncan. Mm-hmm. And what is her name? I've already forgotten.
Madelyne.
And he's got a brother that is there.
Don't ask me all these names.
It doesn't matter. So he's got a brother. His brother is like, "Who's this dumb girl?" So they make off from the castle, and you find out Madelyne is terrified of horses. She gets put on this horse. She asks the horse's name. The horse doesn't have a name. So she seems very, very kind of timid. You find out her brother was not very kind to her growing up. He threw her on a horse once, tied her to it, and just whipped the horse, so she went gallivanting off through the forest.
There's some business with her mother, who is not his mother, that is going to come back later.
Yeah.
But that she looks like her mother, and everybody seems to hate her.
Yeah.
And everybody was just incredibly abusive to her as a child, except for she spent a couple years with her uncle, who was a priest.
Yeah.
And evidently everybody thinks that
she's banging
on the fucking him, which is weird because why would? But anyway, those were the only time in her life where anybody cared about her at all whatsoever. And he told her all these classical stories about Odysseus and so she's kind of a dreamy girl, but she's very scared all the time. She has good reason to be very scared.
Yeah. So she's on horseback with Duncan. She's terrified of the horse, but she doesn't complain. She's not a complainer.
Julie Garwood loves scenes of people who are forced to ride horses for way longer than they've ever ridden horses before, and so they get off and can't pee. That happens in both of these books.
It's just they get off and fall over. It's they share a tent. It's very hot.
It is. The tent is hot.
She's they've made camp for the second day. Her and the brother have gotten in an argument. She finds out about their sister. There's a sister who had been sexually assaulted by her brother. And she is just kind of flummoxed that, her brothers, that these brothers care about their sister.
Yeah.
And
not just because, he insulted your family, but you actually give a goddamn about your sister?
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. And they're like, what's wrong with
Yeah, they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And so she's kind of, walking around, and she's up on this hill face, and she sees an army, or not an army, but just a group of soldiers. And she's like, "Someone's coming!" And
nobody listens to her.
Duncan's
He
like,
finally does. She has to be like,
but Duncan's like, oh, she just saw that we were being followed. He's like, I've known about it since the jump. And the brother's like, what? We are?
like,
so
thanks for telling us, dude.
So there ends up being a little mini battle, and Duncan just leaves her on the horse.
And says don't go anywhere.
Yeah, but then, so she's watching this, like, melee of men fighting, and Duncan sees, like, her, and he's like, well, I need her close to me, which is in the middle of the fucking fight. So he whistles for the horse, and the horse just, like, nah, and, like, just takes off with her on it into the middle of the damn battle. She gets sword stabbed by one of her brother's men, falls off the horse. The horse is protecting her, and then she sees, we're just going to call the brother, like,
Bob.
Yeah, we're going to call the brother Bob. I don't know. Let's give him like...
There's a lot of names in this, and they're all, like... They're not bad medieval names. I didn't look them up or whatever, but that makes them a little hard to remember.
It's not Garrett. Like, there's, like...
No, that's another guy.
We'll just call him Grinwald. I don't know. Let's see Grinwald. So she sees the brother about to be killed. Like, he's fighting, and she sees somebody coming up and going to attack him from behind. So she grabs a mace.
It's Gillard.
So she sees Gillard about to get, murdered. So she grabs a mace and she maces a guy. Like, she just thunk. And, after the macing, the brother's like, we're best friends now. Like, we just become best friends.
Can't hate your ass anymore.
And she has a very realistic reaction after the fight. Like, she's sick. She's just, she's throwing up. She's just like, oh, God, what happened? And, Duncan's like, what's the big deal? She's like, I just murdered somebody.
Yeah, he thinks that she's upset because she was afraid or, because it was gross or whatever. And she's upset because she took a life.
Yeah.
It's really good. All this part is really good.
Yeah. And so she doesn't complain about, again, she got, like, sword stabbed. She got, like a big gash down her leg, and she's not complaining about it until Duncan, like, touches her leg, and she, so he sees her leg, and she's like, stop looking, it's improper. They have really hot tent scenes. Nothing happens, but it's like that.
Oh, she keeps, like, nestling up against him because it's really cold, and she's always, like, crushing her booty on his dick, and he's all like, please stop doing that.
And so, yeah, they end up, she ends up kind of in, like, a feverish state when they finally get to his castle keep. And, he gets in and she's basically, just out of it. And he puts her in a room and gets his other brother. We'll call him
Edmund. No, I remember his name.
And Edmund is kind of a healer, and so he's cleaning it out, and he's like, I don't know why you're making me do all this. She's just going to die in a couple of days. And he's like, you don't know her. She's very tough. And so she's in this fever dream.
This is all weird, okay? Because evidently she's not herself, and she punches a bunch of people.
She punches Edmund and calls him Cyclops.
She's got this whole thing about Polyphemus. The Odyssey. But, she also, she sexually, ambushed Duncan, but they're making fun of her, and they make fun of her for the rest of the book for the things that she says when she's dying of fever.
She keeps talking about all these, kind of characters from classic literature, and then she punches Edmund, and like Sarah says, she ambushes Duncan and makes out with him, and all I could think about was the grossness of the mouth.
I know.
I was like, oh God, because she was in this feverish state for 3 days.
Yeah, no.
And she smelled. I was like,
I know medieval people had to just live, and of course she's like these women always are in these books. Unlike actual medieval people, she takes a bath every day.
Yeah,
and he takes a bath every day in a cold ass lake.
Yeah, it was, and so
so they're trying to kind of forestall you being ooh, they nasty. Remember in Savage Ecstasy where she had them indigenous underpants?
Oh yeah. So
yeah, it's like that.
She finally wakes up and then kind of has this. Sorry, I'm getting ice. I'm making noise. But she has this complete kind of personality change. She went from being really timid and really kind of quiet and shy, and then she becomes basically she takes over that manner.
And so if you read The Bride, or if you listened to our episode on The Bride, I honestly think that what Garwood may have done is just reworked the second half of the book into Jamie, the heroine from The Bride, because she does all these things that don't really make sense with her character. And it's we don't see any of the we don't see, it all happens off screen. And she's weird and clumsy, which doesn't seem, I don't know.
she ends up, she just sort of takes over. Like, she decides to, she's like, his main hall is messy and gross and has dogs and, like.
Yeah, because it's the Middle Ages.
Yeah, and so she's, she wants new fresh thrushes put down. She wants everything clean. She wants everything.
It's like she's never seen somebody throw a bone on the floor before, which I can promise you, she has seen somebody do it. That's what the floor is for. And then you sweep it up and then you put the new rushes down.
I've seen one at, like, Dee's Wings, like, three weeks ago. You know, like, it's not like it's that kind of hard of a thing. But
for some reason, I always see chicken wings on sidewalks. And I do wonder about that. Where do they come from and where do they go?
I guess it's just people just walking around with chicken wings. Yeah. Like, I guess it's a mobile food. I don't know.
Kind of, except that I guess the problem that if you don't care, the problem is not a problem, that you are then left with the...
I never knew that, like, there was a real differentiation of, like, what, if you like the flats or the drumstick.
I don't do meat with bones in it, so it is not my culture. But people really fucking care. They get intense about it, and if they get too many of one or the other.
I don't like the flats. I feel like the flats are like, I like the drumstick.
Yeah, I used to know a guy, I haven't seen him in a long time, and he would just pop the whole thing in his mouth, and then he would take the bone out.
Oh, God, I can't.
I don't really like watching people eat. In fact, sometimes I will be a big old baby about it, and I will stand the menu up between me and my husband.
I've never... Yeah, it is funny. Like, I've never gotten... My husband and I have a whole... my husband has a whole diatribe about this, about, like, the 9.5 weeks food scene. Like, and how it just absolutely disgusts him. That he's like, this is the grossest thing I've ever seen. Like, he's like, I can't deal with this. And I get it. Like, there used to be a commercial years and years ago where it was, like, these people, like, sitting around a big, like, medieval feast, and they're all eating fruit or whatever, and it was supposed to be, like, sexy. And I was just like... There's so much mouth noise happening. So I just don't get the food as whatever. But anyway, I don't know where I got off on.
We were talking about the fact that people in the Middle Ages had zero problems throwing a bone onto a floor because that was a public space. Just like in many cultures now, like if you go to China, if you go to a restaurant, the floor is gross because, like, that's an outside thing. Yeah. Like, that's not, I mean, like, even though it's under a roof, it's not, like, your house is the inside thing. Yeah. Everything else is outside. You just sweep it up at the end of the day. It's fine.
Yeah, Madelyne takes over, and she is completely, like, she beguiles everyone.
You can just see her beating rugs and stuff,
She's, all of Duncan's men love her. Duncan's horse, which she gave a name, I can't remember the name.
Me either. Sorry.
There was something from the classics, like, it started with a S.
It did start with an S.
Senseless or something, I don't know. Silenus. So the horse, which... The one difference, like, it was a big white horse. It wasn't a big black horse.
That's true. But one difference between these two books.
The horse loves her. That becomes her horse. He just gives it to her because he's like, you ruined my horse.
Well, he thinks that she's about to die because, like, the horse batters the stall down to run because she's got sugar in her pockets.
Oh, my God. And so,
he, like, pisses himself,
She's beguiled everyone. And then, so the sister, they have a sister. Again, I don't know her name. It doesn't matter. We'll just call her Megan.
Okay, Megan. It started with an A, Adele. So Megan.
Yeah. I guess we should sort it out. But anyway, so she's the one that has obviously, like, she's been assaulted by Loudon, the brother. And she's very, like, when you meet her, she's very...
We should have mentioned this in the trigger warnings. There's some bad psychology in it.
Yeah. And
some really...
yeah. Okay, so we meet the sister, who, again, we're Adele.
Sure.
We don't really know her name. So she is the one that has been assaulted by Loudon, and she has put on this kind of affectation of being... I don't even know if I want to... Like, it's, like, mentally and just...
It's... Okay, the whole
checked
thing...
out. Like...
The whole thing is based on, like, a completely, baseless, wrong, and elementary understanding of trauma on the author's part, and then also on the character's part, I guess. So when you meet Adele, she's, like, unwashed.
Yeah.
She doesn't speak. She's just she's got, like, that vacant stare.
Yeah.
But then she sees Madelyne, and then she just, like, you fucking cunt!
Yeah, she just, like, is all she does, like, now she can speak, but it's only just to hurl abuse at Madelyne. And so finally Madelyne has had enough, and this is not how you should deal with people with trauma, but she ends up, like, basically, like...
Bring the tub. Bring 2 tubs.
Yeah, they end up, like, bathing her and, like
forcibly bathing her, like, shoving her into the tub.
Yeah, like, she's, like, it ends up being very similar to the fight in The Bride between the two, like, again, not Jamie's sister, but that other sister, where they like punch it out and then they end up being fine. So that happens. She bathes her, and you find out that Adele.
Yeah, she also forces her to tell what happened.
Yeah,
like she forces. She's like, "You'll feel better," and she's like, "I don't want to."
Yeah,
no, you have to, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of you if you don't. Yeah, and so she does, and like, I promise I won't tell anybody. Like, this is not how you handle people who have had a profound trauma in their life, especially the kind of trauma that at the time period, like, she's lost all of her value. Yeah, entirely socially.
Because she was betrothed to this other man, Gerald, and
that is his name.
Yeah, we do know his name. She'd been betrothed to him, been betrothed since like childhood, and now she's like, well, who's going to want me? Mm-hmm. So you find out that
she thinks she may be pregnant. Also,
you find out that Loudon is not the one who actually assaulted her, which gets into again our evil gaze. But it's his friend, like Makar, who did it for him while he watched, and also he like. In addition to like raping her, he almost beat her to death.
It was it's like weaponed rape. It wasn't. Yeah, it's like specifically like politicized rape. It's extra. And
Loudon had like, charmed her, and she was feeling some kind of way because Gerald wasn't in London when she was going to be there, and
so he kind of seduced her and then like trapped her into this thing that had happened to her, and of course everybody in the world knew about it. Mm-hmm. So her reputation is it's very upsetting, and this isn't played for laughs or anything.
No.
Like, this is really serious in this book. However, it's just the utter unkindness of the way that Madelyne like brings her medicine is not all right, y'all.
But I guess once she gets bathed and tells Madelyne her story, they become BFFs. Yes.
And she's entirely better now. She takes baths and
the other reason that you find out that she's been acting the way that she's been acting is she's scared that Duncan is going to send her away, and she doesn't want to leave, and so Madelyne talks to Duncan, and, he's like, well, no, I'm not going to send her away. She's like, but there comes an interesting point with Duncan, because Duncan is very serious. He's a very, very serious, capital letters, TM. He's kind of uptight guy. And because he's the Lord, but he's also a brother, and it's, Madelyne's like, well, you can be both. You can be the Lord, but you can also be there.
But he kind of feels that, like, it's his role as the older brother to be so stern. And so,
yeah. But so, she promises that, Adele never has to leave if she doesn't want to. And once she gets that promise, Adele starts acting like a normal person, and you find out that she was kind of acting that way because she just was protecting herself from having to leave, I guess.
The whole thing is just kind of unsettling when it comes to like people's real trauma. But she is sure that she's sure. It's one of those things where I guess maybe one day she's sure she's pregnant, and then the other day she's
because it gets dropped.
And she's missed a period, but then like as they all know, it's not uncommon to miss a period, and like she didn't have a particularly regular cycle anyway. It turns out she's not pregnant.
But they do have this like conversation about
that's funny because people are always pregnant in these books when they think they're pregnant in these books.
Yeah. It was like a no.
No, and that never happens.
Yeah,
like,
it really.
Either you are pregnant or you have a miscarriage. Like,
it really
you never have a pregnancy scare in these books.
So all the while, she is taken everybody in this castle. Like, they all love her, and Duncan loves her the most. And she's just terrified that she's going to have to go back to Loudon at some point. Or Loudon?
I said Loudon, but I don't have anything to base that on.
I don't know.
There's not a pronunciation guide at the end.
I guess I'm thinking like Loudon Wainwright. I don't know.
So I assume that was Loudon, actually. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say his name out loud.
Oh, well. Now I'm all like, am I saying it right?
I don't know.
Oh, God. So she...
Readers, let us know.
So she, there's all this back and forth. They have some making out. There's no sex yet.
But the making out, the kissing. This is some of the best kissing.
There's a lot of...
It's real good kissing.
And you know what? It's. I felt like it was very natural because, like, usually in these books, they go from, like, kissing twice to, like, just full-on penetration. It's like, that's not really how it works.
She's always like, no.
And then, she's always like, you're so mean to me. And he's really not. But so it ends up, they have this new priest come, and they finally, it's one of these things where Loudon is, or Loudon, whoever, is basically like, give me my sister back, bitch. And
things are escalating in the feud.
And so, essentially, Duncan, when the new priest gets there, is like, I'm handling it. I'm taking care of it. And he's like, you're going to marry me. And she's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yes, you are. And his brother, who, the Geralt, that...
No, Gillicuddy? Like,
Griswold. Griswold was like, I'll marry her. I love her so much. She saved me. And he's like, no, I married her. And the one, like, kind of shitty thing Duncan does is, like, he grabs her by the hair and is like, bitch, we're getting married.
But then when it comes down, when the priest says, do you?
Yeah.
And he lets her go, and he's like, well...
Yeah.
So she does make her... She's not forced into marriage.
No. And she does... So they get married.
I mean, she has to know nobody else would have her at this point. She's been...
Yeah.
He's been sneaking into her bed at night. And, like, it's this weird thing about her that she's, like, a really deep sleeper.
Yeah.
But I guess she's been grinding her ass.
But it's like he sneaks in there just to spoon and then leaves. Oh.
He must be so starved for affection.
Oh, my God.
You know?
It's,
poor guy.
Yeah. So they get married... because he's like, I promise you don't have to go back to your brother. I'm going to take care of it. You're going to be here with me. We've got this priest. He's going to marry us. They finally get married. They have sex. It's like good halfway through the book that they finally do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's good sex.
And it's sensitive. It's like,
he needs verbal consent.
Yeah.
He needs, this little medieval motherfucker needs verbal consent.
Yep.
He makes sure that she is satisfied because he's like, no, like there's a part where he's like, oh, I can just go for it. And he's like, no, hold back.
And they do that whole, the virginity theme that they do in all these books.
Yeah.
He gets like the halfway in and he waits. And then
like he just stops and is like, hey.
And then punches through like a football player through that paper thing.
Like a homecoming banner. Whee!
Yes.
Here I am.
And then she's like, you know,
it hurts for like a second, and then she has an orgasm, and it's great. And then
like 10 more.
And then they have this hilarious like afterwards scene where she's like trying to get the business, and he's like, well, I'll show you that you're sore, and like just like fingers her. And she's like,
yeah.
She's like, ha ha ha.
I would like some of that dick, please.
So they have
supersize it.
They have a lot of sex, and it's good sex.
Yeah.
And so then the book kind of like, it becomes a little bit more like political stuff because it's all about...
Which it didn't really put in, I guess, clearly enough to work. Because, like, all these things happen and, like, whatever. So the brothers, Edmund and whatever, have to go off for their like, nightly service. And then, then this letter comes, which turns out to be fake, for Duncan, that the king wants him. So,
but Duncan knows it's a fake, I think.
I'm not sure.
It was very...
He figures out that it's a fake pretty soon, but it's been, like, a week.
Discombobulated a little
and then,
bit.
Yeah, it gets really... I don't know. I think that she's, like, refining stuff.
Right before he gets the letter, they've been married for a good little bit, like months.
The season has changed, yeah.
And they find out, like, the priest isn't really a priest.
But he doesn't tell her this. Okay, no, the priest tries to murder her.
Yeah, like, she knows, but he doesn't, like, once he realizes, once they kill the, like, they take care of the threat. The priest is, like, handled, not the priest, the defrocked priest.
No, he wasn't defrocked. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Duncan told Madelyne, I wrote to the monastery, and it turns out he was, like, defrocked. Or whatever. Which means, in other words, that he was a priest and we were married.
Yeah.
He lies to her.
Yeah.
Because it turns out that was actually just some dude that Loudon sent.
But the reason he lies to her isn't to get her to, like... It's that he doesn't want her to think that she's been ill-used and that he doesn't care about her.
Also, it happens right before they get a letter from the actual king. Yeah. And so this is the problem, okay? Because it happens so soon that he can't get a real priest in time.
Yeah.
So these are the least God-fearing medieval people you've ever seen. Yeah. There are no priests anywhere around. Which is crazy.
I mean, normally you can't just, like, stick a bag of cats and some
like
priests will come and they're going to burn you because you're a witch because you shook a bag of cats.
Right.
Like,
but here, nobody has a priest on staff. Like, nobody. No. None of these people. Like, nobody has a priest around. So he doesn't want to tell her also because, like, this letter comes, it says, you have to come. Yeah. And he doesn't... No, okay,
It gets really complicated.
Yeah. Now, he's gone when the letter comes that says, Madelyne, your presence is fucking requested.
Yeah.
Because your brother and you need to show up to the court. And so she reads it because she can read.
Yeah.
Although she's embarrassed about it, which is, anyway. But
I guess it's trying to make the point that, most women and most people didn't read at this time.
Yeah. But anyway, so she doesn't, and so then she reads all the other letters in the box and she finds out about the priest thing.
She's like, motherfucker.
But so she goes because she has to go. And when Duncan gets back, she's already gone.
Yeah.
And so, of course, her brother has this whole, plan. But what she reads in the letter is, look, I, your king, can resolve this really fucking quick. I marry each sister to each brother.
But she's also really clever in that she takes Duncan's...
Anthony.
Yeah.
Man in arms.
He's not a brother, but he's the best dude beside a brother. And so after they're with him, and then they also go to her uncle priest's house for a little bit.
Well, she gets abused for a while by her brother first, and then just punches her all the time. And this is where she finds out what happened to her mother that was probably murdered by her brother, who was trying to fuck her. So.
Yeah. And then she ran away down the stairs.
Yeah, or one way or the other. And also that she's a bastard. That she, that her mother was pregnant with some other man's child when it was he married Loudon's father.
Yeah.
So, and that this is a nice guy, although this never comes to anything, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So she's getting all the info. She's info gathering. She ends up at her priest brother's house, or priest uncle's house. I don't know how. I don't really care. So she's there, and then Duncan shows up. And he's like, I missed you so much.
And he brings his 100 men with him just to show, I care about you. And then they get married for real
by the uncle. And then they go to court. They go to court, double court, and there's testimony given. And then she's like, I have something to say. The king lets her talk.
And there's all this business. So this is William II. Yeah,
there's a side plot with the brother.
But it doesn't matter because this stuff only comes up at the end and we have no emotional attachment to any of these people. Anyway, so she speaks her piece and everybody's and she's all the king is well, were you seduced by Duncan when he kidnapped you? And she was like, I seduced him, bitch. And the court's and she's yeah. And then, I didn't fuck him until we got married, but it was, and then everybody's what? And then Duncan's oh, don't, I seduced her too. And they were all yeah.
Yeah. And so,
it was emotionally fulfilling to hear them both yeah, bitch.
Yeah. So Loudon, whatever. He basically...
Somehow one of them lied, but I didn't understand where the lie was exactly. It was a little fuzzy, okay? Because what happens is that they get exiled to Scotland for a month, and then they're allowed to go after each other.
Oh, yeah. He's got to give Loudon a month or 2 months head start, and then he can do whatever. And so we're back.
Save a little honeymoon.
We're back at, I don't want to say, they weren't, quite Scotland, because they kept talking about it.
They were in the lowlands.
Yeah,
or she thinks the Scots are hot.
Yeah, I felt like they were, Northumbria, right there. And so, she's out. There had been this, weird tag earlier in it, where she was convinced that she was seeing a wolf, and she was feeding it, and, Duncan's called the wolf, and it was this weird thing. So she's out putting food out for this wolf, and all of a sudden...
Nobody believes exists.
All of a sudden, Loudon is there. He's grabbed her. He's going to kidnap her.
They shoot Anthony with an arrow, and he's gonna kill her. And she nails him in the nuts, I think.
Yeah, and then he touched the animal's food.
And then all of a sudden, this wolf comes out and just rips his throat out. And Duncan runs up, and he's gonna kill the wolf, but the wolf is fine. He runs,
The wolf goes away, and he's like, a wolf saved you. She's like, yeah, you did. And he's like, no, bitch, a wolf.
That wolf that's imaginary, that wolf that you tell me doesn't exist, all the time. Yeah. That wolf, did that wolf come? That wolf right there?
Yeah, that's the wolf that saved you. And so it ends up, they're happily married.
And so is Delia, or whatever her name is.
Adele. Adele,
okay, so there's this whole thing where she got Duncan to promise that Adele could live there as long as she wanted to. But then Duncan also promised Gilbert. Is it Gilbert? Gerald, whatever, that he could marry Adele still. And they're like, what the fuck? And he's like, what? Y'all figure it out. You can stay here as long as you want to, Gerald.
He said, that's what he said. He's like, I said that she could live here, but what does that mean for you? So it means
talk her the fuck around if you still want her, what?
He has to, and it was really, I wish there had been more of them, because Gerald doesn't, he's not pinning her worth on what happened. And, also, he ends up killing Morcar or whoever that guy was.
He's very gentle with her. It's actually...
They're very sweet.
That all stuff is really good, and I wish we gotten more service in the story, too.
Yeah, because it was really nice to see. It was legit,
because he was like... she barely remembered the dude, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I guess he was just one of those guys who's always around her big brother. I mean, that happens, right?
Yeah.
They're just these dudes that all hang out. But I don't know. I don't have any siblings.
It was just... I liked that because it was him not putting any of her value.
But he didn't push her either.
No. And because she did finally agree to marry him, but she's like, I'll never do that with you. Mm-hmm. And he's like,
that's part of the agreement. He agreed we don't have to have sex.
He's like, I can work with it.
Or no, he said,
I'm patient. And
I think it's like, I will never, something you. I forget the...
I will never bed you, but I never
you
said...
You can bed me whenever you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, in other words, leave room for the healing of your... I was like, all that stuff was great. It's just Madelyne beating the shit out of this traumatized woman to make her feel better. That's not great, y'all.
Yeah.
That part is not...
So, this book was it was a lot, and I guess we'll delve more into it when we go to our next segment. Questions.
Yes, questions.
So, all right, so big dick energy or big dick energy?
Okay, I like this guy a lot. Duncan, was big dick energy.
I really, really, really liked him.
I did. He was... he obviously thought he was one kind of way, but really he was another kind of way. And I guess he was just that way with her. But he was a tender guy when he thought he was being a rough guy.
Well, I think that she was always, especially in the first half of the book, she kind of thinks he's an asshole and keeps, she's like, oh, you didn't bury your dad. Like, when they came to the keep and had the big fight, she's like, you just left and you didn't bury your dad. He's like, none of my dudes died.
Yeah, your dude just sucked.
And, she's always kind of thinking the worst of him. And I guess maybe that's the trauma that she had. She's expecting him to be like her brother, and he's never like that.
I mean, she is legit shocked that they would care what happened to their sister.
He's great. He's sexy as hell. He's you know what? He's like that. He's starchy and broody, but without being mean about it. He's never really, aside from the hair grab, but by this point, she has beaten, thrown things. She has done so much that the hair grab, you don't really mind.
Nah.
And I think what's interesting about it was that I really, especially the first half of the book, him, in the tent where there's a part where she's like, are you gonna assault me? Are you gonna, and he's like, I have never, and he's like, he's like, what's it really called? And she's like, rape. And he's like, I have never, and they use that ugly awful word. He's like, I have never raped a woman.
And these books don't tend to like to use that word.
Yeah. And, he's like, that's not my jam. I don't do that. I hate that. And he says in the book, I love you first. He makes sure that she is always taken care of.
What I wanted was obviously what Garwood was trying to do is his emotional arc is supposed to be understanding that you can be a good leader and not be hard, right?
Yeah.
You can be sensitive and loving as in your family and still be a good military leader. But the book doesn't really show you, obviously it shows you him getting tender to her. But I think that he was supposed to also go through a larger change that it didn't really come out in the book. But I was kind of always waiting to see.
I always felt like he's a secret cinnamon roll. He's a cinnamon roll boy.
He totally is. But he was also hot. Okay, let me put it this way. When they got married for the second time, she's like, aren't you going to shave? And he's like, no, you'll find out later.
He's got this beard. And she's like, aren't you going to shave your face? And he's like, no, I'm good. And he's like, I'm keeping it for a reason.
I'll shave it tomorrow.
And then there's some downtown business. And she's like, never shave your beard. So he's really, especially for a book for 1987, he's really concerned about her her pleasure, her experience. Like, he
thinks she's a dingbat, but then, to be fair, she kind of is a dingbat.
But he is in it. He is in it, and again, I liked that he said, I love you first. I like that he is like, I need you to tell me what we're about to do is okay.
He's a catch.
Duncan is hot. Duncan is fully... He's up there for me.
I liked him a lot.
He's in that top tier of like.
But every time she would talk about what a huge man he was, I would remind myself what the average height of.
I know, it's so funny. Like, he's just like a regular size dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is super competent, but without it being like, you know.
He's brusque, but he's never mean. He doesn't make fun of
and he never does like he doesn't
Although everybody makes fun of her for the stuff that she does when she was unconscious, which is really shitty. I don't like that.
Well, I think it's just wild because, like, you know, she went from being kind of this like dormouse to all of a sudden a bunch of
beating
people
the shit out of everybody,
screaming. Like, it's like, what the hell? But I do think that he's got this like he's got that competency porn thing happening, but he's never like talking down to her. He's never like minimizing her intelligence. He knows that she's smart. He doesn't. And the other thing is, like, when he lied about the priest, he said, like, I lied because I just didn't want you to think that I used you badly. And he used that term. He's like, he's like, I really do love you.
Because that's what everybody assumes when you kidnap somebody, right?
Yeah. He's like, I really do love you, and I want to be with you.
Yeah,
and
once he starts, like, busting out that L word, he is profligate with it.
He is the most, like, she never has to worry about how he feels, and, like, he is...
He'll have his men all shine up their armor to go see her at her...
Yeah, it's very cute. He's fully hot. I love him.
So would you talk shit with or about her?
So I feel like she's divided into two people. Like, so, okay. I really, really, really loved the first 150 pages of this book.
Until they got to the keep. I did too.
And I wonder how I would be about it if I had read this before The Bride, because basically what happens is once they get to the keep, she becomes, the main character for The Bride was Jamie, and she becomes Jamie. Like, she's all of a sudden, like, she's overly competent, but in a way that's, like, unrealistic.
And she also had that weird, like, Jamie got lost all the time. This woman is clumsy, but only in certain circumstances. This woman is so fucking dumb, which makes no sense to her character. She just walks through archery practice and almost gets shot. Like, what?
The hyper competency that Jamie had made sense because, like, she basically had to take care of her whole family and the farm and the whole thing. This woman has either been, like, traumatized by her brother or living with a priest in like a one-room house. All of a sudden she knows how to run a whole ass castle. I found a little bit unrealistic, and I just got like I would have liked to have seen her go from being super timid and super shy to being the person that she became.
It happened all off screen because she used to be so scared of horses, and then she was riding by the end, and we saw her like say she wanted to learn how to ride, but we never saw her learn. I mean, that's the kind of thing I wanted to see.
You never see her overcome that fear. All of a sudden, she's just like she's cured because the horse likes her.
Yeah,
like she's magical girl is what she is. She's a magical girl, and that I don't like.
I agree. I liked her a lot in the very beginning. Like, the whole first, 150 pages were great.
It was hot. It was, like, there was stuff happening. There was so much, like...
It does continue to be hot, though.
Intensity, yeah. No, I mean, again, but it's, like, it's him. But it just kind of becomes, like...
Her character, I think, Garwood kind of... It does feel like it was maybe a rough draft of The Bride.
Yeah.
And, it's like Garwood kind of lost the thread of her character.
Yeah, like... She reminds me, I was telling Sarah about this before, like a little bit of like Evie from Devil in Winter, the Lisa Kleypas book, where you have this like shy girl, this girl that's like gone through trauma who kind of becomes her own assertive person. But with Evie in that book, you see it happen. And you don't really, all of a sudden she goes through, like, she gets stabbed in the leg. She gets leg stabbed. She has a fever dream, and she wakes up a completely different person.
Well, maybe getting a lot of practice punching people will do that to you.
I guess so, but, like,
maybe I should try it.
She didn't even, like, realized that she was punching people.
Yeah. And then nobody tells her. They make fun of her for it for the entire rest of the book, but nobody clues her in. It's kind of shitty.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Again, I really liked the first half of her, and it's not even that it's not that I disliked the back half of it, but I felt like there were two different books happening, because where Jamie and, I can't even remember the guy from The Bride's name, but those people were both dialed up to 11 from the jump. It worked because they're both kind of, like we said, like they're those insane people, like from the
Fancy Pants, yeah.
Yeah, from Fancy Pants, where you've got two extreme characters going at it. And this one, Duncan is always fairly like,
they're both low-key.
Yeah, he's a low-key, but she's low-key in the first half, and then she becomes this she becomes, again,
like manic pixie dream girl who punches a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And so I didn't love her so much in the back half of the book, but
I would agree. And so here's the Bechdel to bitch question in this. It has that that other hair color girl who is the sister, and they become good friends, but they have to go through this real fucked up psychotherapy session.
Yeah, well, they go through it, and then it also becomes that thing where, like, again, in The Bride, where it's not even a equal relationship. It's just the sister glomming on to her.
Yeah. Like, she's like a little baby duck, like, following her around. We do see Madelyne's, one of Madelyne's other sisters, and she's a monster. And she does have another hair color.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Madelyne's a brunette. And he keeps making fun of that she's a redhead.
We don't know. She's like, that's the other
she's
thing.
not a blonde, and she's not a redhead. Those two things are what she's not.
She gets called sable-haired. Like, this is the thing that drives me crazy about Julie Garwood, but they don't tell you the hair color of the heroine until, like, 2/3.
Which is bullshit. I'm sorry, a romance novel, you gotta know if you're talking blonde and blue. You gotta know if you're talking red and green. I mean, you gotta know.
Yes, I need to know. And so, like, okay, so, like, on page, like, 90, he calls her sable-haired, and I was like, okay, I've got it. And then when they're about to get married, he says something about red hair, and I was like, wait.
Well, he was pulling her chain about that. I think she may have been, well, my hair's green right now, but how my hair usually is, which is like brown until in certain lights it's like radish.
Maybe.
And, and so maybe, but like she's all offended that he'll call her a redhead. And it turns out that her real dad, she's so excited to tell her husband, guess what? I'm a bastard. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And Duncan's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Well, yeah, that means, and I mean, seriously, trust me, it is a great comfort to me to know that my evil half-brother has no blood tied to me whatsoever. Yeah. I get it, girl. Go be your bastard life.
So, yeah, it was, okay, yeah, so their relationship, like, I guess, like, yay, Julie Garwood gives us another character that's a female that they don't openly hate each other after they fight it out, but
it's not really a fully realized woman.
It's not like a real.
And I wonder, maybe she has her own book.
I would like that.
Yeah.
I would like for Adele to get her own book and like get her O, give her big O with Geralt.
And it felt like that too. It did feel like that there may be.
Yeah, because you didn't get it. Well, she does that because remember in The Bride, I really liked the sister.
Yeah, the sister who comes and like, did you know that he is fucking his mistress in our house? Yeah, like well, you better figure out how to deal with that, girl.
She always gives you side characters that I think are more interesting.
There's Anthony, who is the man-at-arms who, he's put on the injury, like he's backbench for the injury, and she finally figures out that it's like some kind of groin thing.
He's got a dick injury, but he's got big
dick. His dick is in a cast,
He's got BDE too. Yeah. I loved Anthony. So yeah, I think like you're right. Like it's all there's the multiple hair colors and it does that thing. Okay, so when it comes to consent, is this book more Robin Thicke or Marvin Gaye?
Well, with the main character couple, the consent is great. Of course, it does have, as we said, like it does have a really ugly sexual assault and beating that happens to a side character off screen, but she tells you about it. But like what happens between the two main characters, it is not, I mean, like it is that like hot consent.
Yes, he wants it, like he's like, we're gonna have a contract, he is in it.
Yeah, which you don't, I mean, these older books, where they have good consent in these sex scenes, they don't know how to write them hot yet, but this one does.
Yeah, I really enjoyed their sex.
I just love how she is like the sleepingest sleeper in the world. And once she's out, but she's also the wiggliest ass sleeper.
I was just, doing that. But you know what? It reminded me of that, like, I think we've all, every early, like, especially, like, like college situation where you're just laying with somebody and you're like, hey, hey. I felt like it was very much more organic and like the slow progression of what relationships actually are.
And that's something that's not great in The Bride, is that like they go jump to it, and she does consent to it in The Bride.
But it's a ravishing consent.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of extracted from her under pain of sex.
Yeah, and this one, like, it's like she's like straight up like gonna ravish him.
Yeah, like, man, she got a fever. You gotta look the fuck out. Like, lock up like your husband.
She is DTF. But
those kisses, like, it was so realistic, and how she would go from like, okay, it's just really fucking cold in here, and I know I'm your captive, and fine, I'm keeping my goddamn clothes on, and then 5 minutes later,
wait, yeah, and I did appreciate, because
it was real,
like, so many of these books, again, they go from kissing to like full-on penetration within minutes.
No,
like,
these people make out a lot.
There's making out. There's like, hey, I'm touching a thing. Like, I love that.
How badly are you judging your Meemaw for reading this book? This was Julie Garwood was a very popular.
Yeah.
In fact, the lady who was the assistant in my department who passed away during, not of COVID but during COVID, she had suggested a bunch of Julie Garwoods to me, and I can't find the notebook I wrote it down in, but I feel like this might have been one of them.
Oh, we'll dedicate it to her.
Yeah, we miss you, Mary. So
Mary.
I wonder if like this may have been, because this feels like very much like a book that.
Well, I mean, again, it's one of her, like, early, not early, but it's early. I mean, again, 87.
You feel you're getting some culture.
It was, okay. All right, so this one I think is interesting, because we didn't really touch on this. Would Scarlett Johansson be in the movie? So let's talk about
evil gays.
So it gets brought up and then dropped and then mishandled. Obviously, this is a very gross subject that happens in a lot of these, like Sarah said.
It's weird that we haven't come across one, because I remember this coming up a lot in romance novels when I was a kid. That there would be, think of it like a vizier situation.
Yeah.
Right? That there would be an evil gay vizier who's always trying to, like, screw over our heroine, but not literally.
Well, so the brother, Loudon, Loudon, whatever, we get a couple of, like, perspectives of his, and he's like, I am in love with, Madelyne.
Well, he had an obsession with Madelyne's mother.
Yeah, and then, like, there's rumors of him and the king.
And they won't say it, but it's very clear that what they mean is he's an advisor to the king, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And everybody seems to kind of actually just buy, like, that seems to be accepted. And everybody's like, yeah.
But Madelyne is, automatically, like, sin, like, there was, like, a part where she talks about that. So
it's all sideways, because, like, nobody will say, like,
we have no real idea what Loudon Loudon's sexual proclivities are, because, like, what we see is him, like, standing over his sister's bed and then also making this one man rape and abuse, Adele.
Which I think, how I took that is that, like, that like who you rape is not necessarily who you are, like, romantically attracted to.
Yeah,
but the reason why he didn't rape her himself is that he was gay. But
it was really badly handled.
Does Julie Garwood know any gay people? I mean, it didn't feel like
she's the Rembrandt of romance novels. She should, like,
he felt like a total mustache twirling, one-dimensional villain, and it was like they added that in to make him that much more.
But then it gets, like, there's a part where I was like, okay, they're going to turn this, because she brings it up to Duncan about the king. Mm-hmm. She's like, well, the king's, and Duncan's like, no, stop with that nonsense. But I thought it was going to be like,
I also got the idea, like, yeah, everybody knows that, but
I thought it was going to be a thing of, like, the king is, like, that doesn't make the king good or bad. Like, that's what I thought was going to happen with it, but that's not it just gets...
Yeah, it just got a slimy, slithery, probably gay character in it. But, I mean, like, the thing is, she missed an opportunity in this, because if she had put more into Luden Loudon, he would have been way scarier.
Yeah.
Right? You don't even see him until the end.
Yeah.
Like, he's not on stage, really, until the end of this book. And, I mean, if he had always been there, or if they had scenes together, like, you know...
Yeah.
Like, them being forced to meet or whatever, like, I can imagine, I don't know, like a party... and it's horrible and awful. Like, that would have been good, but we don't see him until the very end, and he's just, like, one-dimensionally evil.
Yeah, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
And, it's, you know, it's this whole, like... It's this thing that, you know, a lot of these books do, where it's, like, trying to make this, again, badly and incorrectly perceived idea of, like, perverseness and, you know, making it other and making it evil, and it's done not well at all. And, well, again, I thought that it was going to be a thing that, like, got mentioned, and then it was going to be brought back by, like, the king is a good man, and the king happens to like what the king likes, and you shouldn't judge him on that. But it did, like, no. it did not become that. But
it also had that thing with her mother. So, I mean, maybe his orientation is just evil.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I felt like it was, like, this idea that all of his sexual desires were wrong.
Yeah, he's just a deviant. He's deviant in every direction you can be a deviant in.
And it's incorrect and gross and terrible, and I don't...
Yeah, obviously, we are not pro-homophobia.
0 out of 0 stars on that portion of it. Yes. Do not recommend. But, yeah.
But, yeah, I am surprised, because I do remember tons of books like that. I remember one in particular, and I do want us to do it, because it is so hot.
Yeah.
But, like, it does have a bad evil gay who is the antagonist in it. So we will hopefully get a more chance to kind of unpack that trope in future books, and maybe bring in some guest stars and dig into it. You know, because I don't want to throw out a book because of it, because for one thing, I think it's worth, like, looking at the time periods of books and seeing when did they have the evil gays, and when is it too late to have an evil gay in a book, you know? Like,
and, like, you know, like, when can you go back to having evil gays?
Yeah.
Like, they're evil.
I know,
like,
they just happen to be evil gays.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's when we will have really achieved true equality in this. When you can just be a terrorist who happens to also be Saudi Arabian, because we have so many characters who are Saudi Arabian that like, that doesn't matter. Well, same thing. Well, you know, when a gay person can be evil in a book without being an evil gay.
Exactly.
that's when we'll have arrived. You're not... Oh, well, can we also mention... I don't think I have to tell you this, but none of this has very much to do with 1099 England.
Yeah, there's...
It feels better than The Bride, and I don't know any particular reason why it feels better than The Bride.
I think, again, like, the strength of this book is that... It
doesn't have the Scott stuff in it. It doesn't have, like, all that, like, made-up kilt stuff. And I think that's maybe part of it. It's a more generic setting.
The first quarter of this book is fucking amazing. Like, I was in it hard. Like, that whole, like, keep scene and his soldiers, and then the camping and the rough camping, and, like, honestly, until they got to his castle, I was like, this is amazing. This is you know. And it's not that I disliked it after it, but I felt like the first part of the book was so strong.
It set up my expectations so high.
Yes, it was like, it was intriguing, it was sexy, like, it had all of it. Like, the action in it was really well written. Mm-hmm. And then I felt like it became...
very disjointed.
Yeah, I mean, you know I love a jokey book. You know I love I love a jokey
where everybody's, like, screaming at each other. Yeah. Give me a parking lot fight, right?
I love jokey shenanigan, whatever. But the first part of this book did not feel like that. No. And so, like, I was really in it and felt like, okay, at least, like, we're trying to do some time period stuff. And then, like, it just got wild. Like, and
I really feel that the politics stuff could have been really good if they had, because they got real kings in this one.
This book is almost 400 pages. They are married, and I love you by page 300 or like 250 or something like that. Like, there's a good portion of book left.
It's a solid 100 pages too long.
Yeah. After they are in straight up love, like, you know, and then it's like politics. So I think it could have been interwoven a little bit better.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that's quite difficult to write as an author.
Yeah.
Once people are in love and married, and it's not the end of the book.
Yeah, I respect I respect like her
you
trying
got a problem, you know.
her trying to do that and trying to be like, okay, this isn't the end of the thing. Like,
you still have major problems and, you know, challenges ahead of you. But I don't know, it felt like the pacing was weird at that point. Mm-hmm. It felt like kind of slack sometimes. Yeah. So obviously this is an early book for her. And yeah, because The Bride was paced like, how fast did you read The Bride? Because I think I read The Bride in like, was it 2 days maybe?
Oh my God, I read it like, yeah. And I think... And what's funny about it is like the pacing in The Bride is better, but also the time in The Bride is weird because The Bride happened in like a week. And in this one, at least
it's an appropriate amount of time for
at least it tells us that it happens like within like a year and a half or something. And I was like
The Bride is like, well, like, okay, I was like weird that I go back to Savage Ecstasy twice in one podcast, but so like you go almost all the way through that fucking book, and then it's like, well, then the 2 weeks since she's been captured, and we're like, motherfucker, 2 weeks?
The beginning of it felt like, I was like, oh God, I felt like it was Savage Ecstasy because like, I was like, you know, it's her saving like this, you know, captive.
And she's so naive and he is hard. You know
what? At least he doesn't fucking lie about knowing English for $4 or whatever that was. Like, and it's not really built on the back of fucking mass genocide. So, you know.
there's that. At least like, they do speak more than, or she knows, as far as she knows, more than 6 words. But then the 6 words thing makes so much more sense when you realize it only been 2 weeks.
But then she also, like, I guess it is interesting, like, Madelyne does know Latin and, like, you know, like...
She's an accomplished lady. She plays the psaltery. Yeah, it's...
Oh, yeah, there's the whole... But, like, by that point, I was like, can't Adele be good at something? Like...
Yeah, like, seriously, like, doesn't Adele have any talents?
And I think that's...
Adele is also gently raised, right?
I think what's... Again, I liked that we did this kind of back-to-back with my new favorite, Fancy Pants, where you had the relationship between Francesca and...
Holly Grace, you mean?
Yeah, Holly Grace. Like, that
who were both grown-ass women who acted like grown-ass women.
But seeing a real female friendship in a book where both are, like, imperfect, both are good at some things, and, like... it be genuine versus like a book where you have a magical girl and then you have a non-magical girl who just gloms on.
Like she actually, like Madelyne will call Adele like little girl. Yeah. And she's like, you know, I'm actually 2 years older than you, right?
Yeah.
Like, but like it doesn't feel that way, honey.
Yeah. It was, yeah. I wasn't a fan of that.
No, I wasn't. You're not leaving the house looking like that. Well, I can tell you that the costumes are very ahistorical.
There's so many just like... I felt like she paid less attention to costuming in this one than she did... I mean, she gave Madelyne outfits, like the over whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like she's wearing like an underdress and an overdress, which is accurate, but I get the feeling that what they're really doing here is more of like a 14th century Code Hardy thing where you have like this low slung belt, and you're trying to really accentuate your hips and your hopefully a little bit of pregnant belly. Nah. See, why won't that come back? I would love to like be honored for my fat baby.
Oh God! All hail Sarah's fat baby.
And she never had. Okay, and I know that I cannot argue about this in a romance novel because I will never see a fucking romance novel that's set in the Middle Ages where women cover their fucking hair.
No,
it'll never happen.
No, they're never.
It'll never. I mean, maybe in some of those Tudor ones that are trying to be.
They're never gonna have that stupid cone.
Yeah, they're not gonna have like the cloth.
Habit,
they're not gonna have. Yeah, maybe they'll have the. I forget what it's called. The princess hat, the cone one, like the dunce,
cone,
the dunce hat.
The dunce hat.
But no, they love to have that hair streaming down their back.
There's no wimples. No wimples.
You're not gonna see a wimple. And I do wonder what they think, how they think these women are keeping that hair clean.
I guess because they're bathing every day.
Yeah, they're bathing every day. She is making these poor bitches pull up a bath for her every day. She's not even going down to the cold ass lake.
No.
Well, here's something related to the lake. Will your 12-year adult self have dog-eared any pages? There is actually a very sweet and pretty hot scene where he's like, you're going swimming in the lake with me. And she's like, isn't it cold? And he's like, it's fucking hot outside. It's summer. Nobody's going to see you.
Yeah, there's...
I imagine that every time he says nobody's going to see you, like 15 people are like, Can we
Here they
invent
go again.
curtains?
Like,
Because-
they do this thing where she's like, well, again, it gets into this, like, we're going to get into it. Like, but there's no, like, this whole weird idea of privacy that does not exist. But,
evidently she's a screamer.
yeah, that's the thing. She's always just screaming, having sex. Like, they are having sex all over that castle.
And everybody else is like, okay, I know we don't have a concept of privacy because it is the 11th century.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to eat on that table.
Like, come on, y'all. There's a lot of really hot sex.
There is. There's good oral in this. Good finger banging, too.
Julie Garwood writes good sex.
She does.
Y'all need some good early 80s, like, good sex. Mm-hmm. Julie Garwood is...
It's not as explicit as you would get today.
No, but I mean, it's still fairly fucking explicit.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, I gotta say. And the making it, this is definitely, I think this is the best making out we have ever had. Their kissing is good.
And like I keep trying to say, I think what I liked about it the most was, again, that escalation of, like... like, we go for that
was a dog. That was not actually coming out of Courtney's.
That was Hershey. I like that we don't go from we've kissed twice to my penis is inside you. Like, that we have just hot, like,
they're always pulling back. They're always like,
they're making out. There's like
eating each other's faces.
There's
like
a boob brush. There's, you know, like, it's very, I feel like, organic.
She's always like, I'm trying to get comfortable. What is that in my...
Yeah, like, there's grinding.
Oh, there's so much grinding.
So much grinding.
And he is always like,
this might be...
can she really not know what she's doing?
This might be our first grinding book.
Yeah.
This might be our first, like, grind.
Like our first hump.
I like it. I like it. You know, I like a grind. So
a dry hump. Well, like, is it a dry hump if one of the participants is completely innocent of knowing what she is doing?
Well, she's just too horny. She's just too horny at night. So,
well, that's the thing. Like, when she's completely awake, she's like, "You will keep your hands off me."
Well, see, I think that's...
And then, like, she gets like 10% asleep.
What makes
Who
it,
among us?
What makes it is, like, it's not him being, like, gross. It's not him getting in that bed with her at night and, like, grinding on her.
It's usually her.
No, that's what makes it work, is that he just lays there because he's like, I like to sleep with her because I like to cuddle. And then, like, she's just, like, she is backing that ass back.
Yeah, she is
on
like,
it.
And I mean, she'll grind a little bit, and then she'll be like 10% asleep, and she'll roll over, and she's so cold, and she's so snuggled up to him, and then she's like,
yeah, she's got her hands in his. I love all these books that have, like, there's the mat of chest hair, like, it's a mat. You know, she is basically just, like, dry humping this man.
Oh yeah, and this man he has the patience of a saint.
God, he's so hot.
So what does pair nicely with a dumpster fire?
Rosé all day.
I guess so.
Rosé all day.
This is a rosé book. Absolutely. Any of your Julie Garwoods.
It's frothy. Yeah. It's light. It's fun.
You probably don't remember which one you read.
It's satisfying. Like, I'm here for it.
Oh, by the time Luton finally gets his throat torn out by the wolf, I'm like, well, where the fuck did the wolf come from? But I don't care. He deserved it, and I'm happy that happened. It's
like your fourth glass of rosé. You're like, whatever. It's all fine. It's fine. It's all fine.
I will tell you the truth. I was like a couple glasses in when I started reading the book, and so I missed somehow the wolf appearing in the beginning.
Oh, you're like, where the fuck?
She's just like leaving out dog food.
You're like, where the fuck did this wolf come from? So,
well, fine. It's all fine. It's fine. You don't... If you have to, like, be stone cold sober to read these books, and these are not really books that are in our bailiwick.
No, yeah. There we go.
That's where we draw the line.
We finally, again, in our search for catchphrases, not a book in our bailiwick. So this is, I think, definitely a book for our bailiwick.
It's got bailiwicks in it.
It's got bailiwicks for our bailiwick. So you guys... As always, you can find us on social media. Facebook, we are Bodice Tipplers. Our website is bodicetipplers.com.
On Twitter, we are btipplers.
Yes, and our Patreon is
patreon.com/bodicetipplers, where if you sign up for different tiers of support, we will give you cool stickers and shit.
And you know what? We have a rosé tier.
We do have a birthday
So
tier.
Celebrate.
I don't remember which one that is, but if you get high enough, we do send you a really cool tote bag.
We do have a good tote bag.
Yeah, I know.
We give good totes. So
That's true. I've been meaning to steal one, but then I would feel bad because what if that was the last one that we needed to send out? So I have not even.
We can get more.
I don't even have a knitting project in one of these tote bags.
Oh, it's too sad. So again, if you guys have a suggestion for books to go on our bailiwick,
we will read your bailiwick books.
Yeah.
Bodice Tipplers is part of the Frolic Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.